Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're jumping into a really cool idea from our source material, a framework that says all of reality, everything from physics to biology, runs on a simple but super powerful three-stage process.
So get this, the proposition is huge. What if everything, we're talking the tiniest particles to the biggest galaxies, what if it all operates on a single universal engine, almost like an operating system for existence itself? And that engine is described with this simple notation, 2, 3, 7. The whole idea is that reality just keeps cycling through three steps. First, something gets separated. Then, it's connected into a new structure. And finally, that structure is stabilized so it actually lasts. Split, form, repeat. That's the mantra.
Okay, so let's dive right into stage one. The very first step in this cosmic operating system is always a split, a fundamental division of one thing into two.
This first operator is all about that split. Just think of it as the step that creates the basic bits and bytes of existence. It takes a unified whole and just divides it, creating all the fundamental distinctions, the raw potential that you need to build a complex universe.
And this really gets to a core idea. Before you can build anything, you need building blocks, right? Well, this split is what provides them. In the standard model of physics, this is the layer of matter. We're talking about the fundamental quarks and leptons. They're what you get when reality is first partitioned into its smallest, most distinct parts.
And this is so cool because it shows how this first step creates all these essential tensions that literally drive the universe. It's the origin of wave-particle duality, of matter versus antimatter, all the fundamental pairs that make existence dynamic instead of just flat and static.
All right, let's move on to the next stage and see how this all builds up. Because once you have all these separate parts floating around, you obviously need some rules to govern how they interact and connect with each other.
And this is where the next operator comes in. It's all about formation. It provides the rules of the game, the code that says how the separate parts can actually link up. You can almost call it the grammar of the universe.
So in our physics analogy, this layer is force. It's electromagnetism, it's the nuclear forces, all the things that bind particles together. Without these rules of interaction, the universe would just be a disconnected soup of particles. No atoms, no molecules, literally no structure at all.
So you can see the logic here, right? It just builds step by step. First, the split creates the raw potential. Then, interaction introduces forces, which create relationships. And boom, those relationships lead to the formation of stable systems, like atoms. It's a straight line from simple duality to a complex reality.
But just having a structure, well, that's not the end of the story. For existence to actually stick around, the whole system needs a way to sustain itself, to make sure it keeps going.
And that brings us to the final operator, which is all about the return, or what you might call closure. It's the mechanism that takes a newly formed structure and makes it last. It basically locks everything into a stable, self-perpetuating loop, so the whole thing doesn't just immediately fall apart.
And to finish our physics analogy, this final layer is mass. This is the job of the Higgs field, giving particles mass so they can actually persist through time. Think about it. Without this stabilizing closure, atoms and molecules would just be these fleeting, temporary interactions. Mass is what turns potential into the tangible, stable reality that we all experience.
And here's where it all loops back on itself. Just like the quote says, every return at the end of the cycle generates a fresh pair for the beginning of the next one. So stabilization isn't an end point. It's the starting line for a new split, which makes the whole system just eternally creative.
Now, this is where the framework makes its boldest, most powerful claim. The idea is that this 2-3-7 pattern isn't just some clever way to describe particle physics. No, it's a universal algorithm that shows up absolutely everywhere.
Just look at this. The argument here is that this isn't a coincidence. From cosmology, with its 2 expansion rates and 3 epochs, to biology, with 2 sexes and 3 germ layers, all the way down to the information theory that runs our world. The claim is that this fundamental split, structure, cycle architecture is just built into the fabric of reality.
So what does all this mean? Well, if this pattern really holds up, it could totally reframe our entire understanding of what reality even is. Here's the big takeaway. The universe isn't a collection of static stuff. It's a dynamic, 3-step system. First, the split creates possibilities. That's matter. Then, the structure defines relationships. Those are the forces. And finally, the cycle sustains it all, stabilizing it into a persistent reality. And that's mass. Matter, force, and mass.
the whole shebang. It's a complete self-sustaining system.
Ultimately, this framework is a lens. It's a new way of seeing. It suggests that once you understand this fundamental engine of split, form, and repeat, you'll start to see its rhythm everywhere, in everything from a piece of music to the way a story unfolds. So the real question is, now that you know the pattern, where are you going to see it next?